Hello and welcome guys to a new episode on SportPredictorFanatic. Today we're going to predict the Premier League. Yes, let's go. It's finally starting again. My favorite league, at least, together with the Bundesliga. So yeah, let's go. As the other videos, I'm first going to talk a little short about the summer transfers that have been going on for each club. The biggest transfer. So if I say Arsenal have bought, and then I name 3 players, I don't mean they have only bought these 3 players. I mean, those are like the 3 big names. So there's that. And then after that talk, I'm going into the standings, like the full top 20. So we're going to know who's going to get relegated, who's going to get the first place, who's going to get Champions League, all those things. But yeah. Without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to begin with Arsenal, of course. We're just doing this on alphabetical order, I think. Arsenal have actually bought some players, of course, with Calafiori, who of course played well at the Euros and is coming from Bologna. They've also now signed Raya, who's of course already on loan there, but now is really bought. And they got Czerny, the left back, back from loan at Real Sociedad. They of course also sold some players, with Emil Smith-Rowe being the biggest name there. Then we go to Aston Villa. They've actually been pretty busy with the biggest buys, I think, being Amadou Onana, Ian Maatsen, Cameron Archer, and Ross Barkley. They of course also sold some players with Moussa Diaby, Douglas Luiz, and Langlais, who of course was there on loan and is now going back, and Zaniolo, who's also on loan and now is going back to Galatasaray. And then we go to Bournemouth. They've actually bought Sinisterra, was already on loan here last season and is now bought from Leeds. Enes Unal was also already on loan here, but has now been bought from Getafe. Dean Huijsen is one of their biggest buys. I expect much from him, I'm going to be honest. Araujo from Barcelona, and Traoré, who is gone back from loan at Napoli. But I think their biggest player leaving is, of course, Solanke, who is going to Tottenham, and Kiefer Moore. And with that, Lloyd Kelly. Then we go to Brentford. Brentford actually bought Igor Thiago from Club Brugge, who actually played really good last season. And they have, of course, bought Fabio Carvalho of Liverpool. That one actually, I'm a Liverpool fan, by the way. So hi. I know some of you will click over straight away now. But no, I'm a Liverpool fan, and I think Fabio Carvalho should have stayed. Not for Fabio Carvalho themselves, but for Liverpool itself. But that's my opinion. But of course, Brentford have also sold some players with Mopai, who's of course here on loan and now goes back to Everton. Then we have Brighton. Brighton have bought Minte. He's bought from Newcastle, but he was on loan at Feyenoord last season, and I think he's not the best, but he's still young, so maybe I'm wrong. They've also bought Wiever from Feyenoord and Osman from Noord-Zeeland. They've also sold some players with Pascal Gross, Adam Lallana, and Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati, of course, was on loan and now is going back to Barcelona. But yeah, some big players there. And then Chelsea, I mean, what a surprise. They've bought players again. I saw an interesting fact. I'm just going to say it right now. In the 2 years, Chelsea have that one owner. I don't know his name now. That's bad. But he has 35 players bought. And if you go then to a team like Liverpool, their 35th transfer, if you do 35 transfers back, you go to Joe Gomez in 2015. That's actually mental. And Chelsea have just done it in 2 years. But yeah, no, Chelsea have bought Pedro Neto, of course, from Wolves, Dewsbury Hall, of course, from Leicester, Philip Jurgensen, I think it's a young goalkeeper from Sweden, Adarabiojo from Fulham, and of course Kepa, who came back from loan at Real Madrid, and Lukaku, who came back from loan at AS Roma. Of course, the most notable players leaving, because those are also there, is of course Thiago Silva and Omari Hutchinson. Then Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have actually bought Chadi Riyad, Sarr, and Kamada. I think some solid buys there. But they've also sold like their main player, Olise, who's of course going to Bayern Munich, and Riedewald, of course, a Dutch right back, I think it is, and he's going to Royal Antwerp. Then we go to Everton. They have bought O'Brien and the Ndiaye from Marseille, Lindström, who's come here on loan from Napoli, and Mopai, of course, he's back from loan at Brentford. But they've also sold some players, with Onana, of course, as said, going to Aston Villa, Godfrey going to Atlanta, Dele Alli, Andre Gomez, and Danjuma. Danjuma, of course, was on loan here and now is going back to Villarreal. Then we have Fulham. Well, as said, Fulham have actually bought Emil Smith-Rowe. And besides that, they've also bought Sessegnon, of course, from Tottenham. They've also sold some players, with Palhinha and Adarabiojo, as just said. But Palhinha, of course, going to Bayern Munich. Then we have Ipswich Town, of course, one of the biggest teams here in terms of like the biggest prestation, biggest achievement that they're here. They've done actually some interesting business. I think they actually used 50 million on transfers, and they used like a couple of millions to make their stadium Premier League ready, which is mental. But they actually bought Omari Hutchinson, Jacob Greaves, and Ben Johnson. They've also sold some players, but I'm gonna be honest, I knew none of them. Like, absolutely none of them. Then we go to Leicester City, of course, they're back again as well. They've bought some players, with Fatau, who was here on loan already last season, but then now has been bought from Sporting. Buonanotte, who's on loan here right now from Brighton, and Christiansen, who came back from loan at Bologna. They also have sold some players, with Dewsbury Hall and Iheanacho and Pratt. Then we go to Liverpool. Well, I'm gonna be honest, my club hasn't done that much yet. I'm a bit stressed about it. Literally all they've done, and this is literally all they have done, is they promoted Jaros from the youth under 21 team to the main team, and three players got back on loan, with two of them being sold or being sent away on loan again, and Sepp van den Berg, who is the other one who came back from loan, is probably getting sold as well. And the other two players that are on loan is already away are Carvalho, who scored, of course, went to Brentford, and Ramsey, who is going back to loan at Wigan. And of course, they had also had like Adrian, the keeper, leave to Real Betis, and Thiago, of course, announcing his retirement, and they have Joel Matip leaving the club. Then we go straight into Manchester City, of course, another big team. They have bought Savinho. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know really who he is. He's like 18 years old, Brazilian, and he played at Troyes in France last season. They have Calvin Phillips, who was at West Ham on loan, but now it's come back. Etcheverry, he was also on loan at River Plate. Not really known with him, but apparently a pretty good player. But yeah, as I said, he's back on loan from River Plate. And João Cancelo, who was of course at Barcelona and now is back at City. But they've of course also sold some players, but actually the only main one being here is actually Julian Alvarez, of course, going to Atletico Madrid. But then we get into Manchester United. They have bought some players with Leny Yoro, Matthijs de Ligt, Joshua Zirkzee, Mazraoui, and Sancho. Sancho, of course, came back from loan at Dortmund to Man United again. But I think Euro is. I'm gonna be honest. I think Euro is already having an injury straight away. But I think they've done some good business. I actually think they've done some good business. They of course also sold some players. Wan-Bissaka is one of them. He's going to West Ham. Donny van de Beek, of course, going to Girona. Varane going to Como. Martial and Amrabat. Amrabat is of course going to Fiorentina because he was on loan here at Manchester. Then we go to Newcastle United. Newcastle have bought Lewis Hall. Was already, of course, here on loan last season, but now has actually been bought from Chelsea. They have bought Vlachodimos, of course, Nottingham goalkeeper, and Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth. They've also sold some players, with actually Anderson being the main one. He went to Nottingham. Well, about Nottingham, we're going straight into Nottingham. As said, they bought Anderson from Newcastle, Milenkovic from Fiorentina, Silva from Guimares, and they got actually John Joe Shelby, the legend, the bold legend. But yeah, he was on loan at Rizespor, and yeah, he's now back at Nottingham. They've also sold a lot of players, with Niakate, Vlachodimos, Tavares, who of course was here on loan and now goes back to Arsenal. Montiel, who is also here on loan and goes back to Sevilla. And Origi, who was here on loan from AC Milan and now is going back to AC Milan. Then we have Southampton. They've actually bought Harwood Bellis from Man City, Downs from West Ham, Brereton Diaz from Villarreal, Sugawara from AZ, and Lallana from Brighton. I'm going to be honest, the first two I actually don't know, but I saw they were pretty high-rated transfers, so I was going to name them either way. But no, I think actually some good business. I think that Brereton Diaz isn't too bad, not the best. Sugawara I actually really liked. He played for AZ last season. AZ Alkmaar, of course, in the Dutch league. And I actually really liked him for the last few seasons. And of course, Adam Lallana, old Liverpool player. But yeah, solid for the Premier League, like solid. But they, of course, had to let go of some players as well, with Che Adams going to Torino and Armstrong, of course, another well-known player, also leaving the club. Then we go to Tottenham. They haven't done too much, but actually they've bought Solanke and Archie Gray, which are two, I think, really solid players. Of course, Solanke coming from Bournemouth and Archie Gray coming from Leeds. They, of course, also had to sell some players, with Emerson Royal going to AC Milan, Sessegnon going to Fulham, and Gil going to Girona. Then we go to West Ham. West Ham have actually bought Kilman from the Wolves, Somerville from Leeds, Fulkrug from Dortmund, and Wan-Bissaka from Man United. I actually think that is really, really freaking good. But of course, they also had to let go of some players, with Ogbonna leaving the club, of course, the one that kicked the cats, allegedly. Oh no, it's on camera, it's not allegedly. And Calvin Phillips, of course, who was at Man City on loan, but now is going back to Man City. Then we go to the Wolves. They have actually bought Strand Larsen, of course, big striker from Celta de Vigo, Rodrigo Gomez from Braga, Tommy Doyle from Man City, and Guedes, who was, well, he was on loan at Villarreal and now has come back to the Wolves. But they also had to let go of some players, as said, Kilman to West Ham, Neto, of course, going to Chelsea, and Lemina going back to PSG because he was also on loan. Then we are going to the prediction.
Okay, so let's get into it. Yeah, we're gonna start with the champions as we did with the other predictions as well. And I think the champion is gonna be, yeah, boring. Boring. Oh, by the way, so the logos look weird. I'm sorry about that, but I can't really change it. I can't find how to change it, but I hope it's still fine. I mean, it's pretty clear that's Man City, right? But no, yeah, that's Man City. I think they're going to become champions once again. I think they have an amazing team. Um, I think they're not going to be as dominant as normally, but I still think they're going to win. They have an amazing team, let's be fair. And who is going to become second for the third time in a row? Yeah, it's going to be Arsenal. Yes. I expect it to be a close battle, but once again, to Arsenal to, well, become second. I'm going to be honest, I can't really change that. Yeah, it is what it is. And then who's going to become third? Yeah, I'm predicting Liverpool. They haven't really changed their squad, as I said in this video, but I think they still have a strong squad to survive this and, well, get away with the W's where needed. But of course, also like some losses against, well, especially City and Arsenal. So yeah, I'm going with them third. And who I'm actually predicting fourth, and this is going to be our first upset. Yeah, I might be aiming too high for them, but I have a soft spot for them. But I actually expect West Ham United to have a stunning fucking season. I actually expect them to do really well. I think they have a really good squad and could actually do some damage here. So yeah, a surprising one. So I hope it's not gonna, yeah, I hope it's not gonna like bite me when I do the recap of the full season and my predictions. I think I might be wrong, of course. But it's a guess, but this is what I think at this moment when I look at the transfers, at the team, and like that kind of stuff. I actually think West Ham are gonna do well. Then do I think is gonna become fifth? It's gonna be Aston Villa. I think they're gonna become fifth. I think they were fourth last season. I think West Ham is gonna knock them down a spot, but I still think they've done some great business. Then I would actually go for Tottenham. I think they've done pretty well, pretty good team. I can be just short about it. I just think they're gonna become there. Then the last spot for a European football, I think, if I'm correct. Yeah, I must be correct. Is gonna be it's gonna be no, it's gonna be Chelsea. I think now they've done enough transfers to actually able to reach this goal, of course, of theirs. Of course, I need to knock them down one spot. Yes. So now we have our top seven. But now let's get into the relegation. And I actually think that because I'm gonna do the last place first, I think Nottingham is gonna be absolutely waste of time. They're gonna become last. I think they are not gonna get many points. They can of course prove me wrong. But yeah, no, I'm expecting them to do pretty badly. Then the next team, and this might actually be a surprise here. Um, but the next team I'm putting out will be no, it's actually gonna be Leicester. I don't know why, but I'm actually expecting them not to have a great season, although they're like the champions of the promoted teams. Of course, championship. But yeah, no, I'm not expecting them to do that good. And the next team that I think is going to relegate as well, it's going to be Ipswich. Yeah, I mean, they've done really well. I think they've done some good transfer business. Not the best, just good. But I think it's not going to be good enough to actually get to stay in the Premier League. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ipswich. But no, I don't think it's enough. Then one team which I actually think is gonna stink a little bit. Although I don't actually think they did that bad last year. I actually think Everton is gonna stink of the season. So they're becoming 17th. And the other team just finishing before that is gonna be Brentford finishing 16th. Then we have the last one of the teams that got promoted, and that is Southampton. Actually, think Southampton are going to do pretty well. I don't know actually why, but I just have that gut feeling they are going to do well. It might, of course, just shut me down straight away, but no, I actually think they're all right. And then the 14th team, I actually think is going to become Wolves. Yeah, I don't think they have like the best team. I'm gonna be honest. Um, Yeah, I think there's not much in there. Sometimes they play nice, sometimes they don't. A lot of players like Kilman, I think, are gonna bite there in the butt. Um, we'll see, we'll see. Now I'm going back to eighth, because there are of course some big clubs left. But no, eighth I think is going to be May 9th. I think they're going to do pretty well, but I think they need one more year to actually be on like the next level. Um, of course, played pretty well against City, but I still think there's some work to do there, and I think they're not going to be consistent enough. But we'll see, we'll see. And then ninth, I'm picking a Newcastle. I think Newcastle is not going to do great, not going to do bad. Ninth, I mean, it's the left row. But yeah, it's absolutely not the best. Then 10th, I actually expecting Bournemouth to become 10th. Um, yeah, I'm expecting actually some good things from them. I don't know exactly why, but I actually do feel like they're going to do well. Um, but then we are going to 11th. We're going to who else? And we're going to 13th. Yeah, I'm expecting this to be the order. I can really talk about those last three teams, but I find it like in the middle. I find it so hard to predict. Because this it was last season. It was so close. This season it's going to be so close, probably. Um, so yeah, this is kind of what I am expecting. We're gonna see, of course, at the end of the season if I'm gonna be right. But for now, I want to thank y'all for watching. Please have a great day, and I will see you.